What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is ALPAT Day 60. I think we are at the halfway point, or very near the halfway point of this patrol. Today was a very adventurous day. Very adventurous day indeed. We pulled into Dutch Harbor. I was the inbound CIC watch supervisor. And one of the parts that we did, we conducted a drill for how we would navigate the ship in the event that GPS is lost. And this drill is where CIC and our navigation team is allowed to shine. We take fixes using radar ranges and visual bearings, and we can make a fix for where the ship is, and that's what we did. And we actually did very well doing those. We were within 10 to 15 yards of the track line, and that is extremely accurate. We were able to get the ship in. Another way we are able to navigate is that we are able to take the radar picture and line it up with the land, and that gives you a distance of variation and a bearing of variation, and you can get a fix for your position that way as well. And so that was what I was doing as we were coming in, was I was getting those type fixes. Once we moored up, we had to do some end of month activities for our radios and all of the associated gear. We had to make sure that was done in a timely manner before we left. And after we left, as I always do in Dutch Harbor, I went to Amelia's for lunch. Now this time, I know it's going to come as a shock to people, I did not get pho on this particular day. And the reason I didn't was because I had a giant cold sore on my lip. Oh sorrow, oh woe is me. But I did have the fried rice, which, as with everything they have there, is extremely good. After that, I went to the post office to check my mail. I have a P.O. box in Dutch Harbor that I bought for myself and for the crew, for anyone that needs to use it. I got 2 packages from my family, one from my wife and the kids, and one from my mother-in-law. They were both more or less birthday gifts, even though I'm getting them quite late. And I got 1 package from Amazon. That was a new pillow, because the pillow I had was quite smashed and not very comfortable to sleep on. And I got a mat for our bathroom so that we don't get as much water on the floor. I am still waiting, as of today, I'm still waiting for a box of baseball cards to be delivered. I ordered them off of eBay. I'm going to make a video about those. As you've seen, if you watch through this, you will see that I make baseball card videos as well. I'm going to make a video opening those. It is a Topps Series 2 jumbo box. Should have an autograph and some relic cards, so that's going to be pretty cool. But they weren't there because the postman said that the mail flights had been delayed for 2 days, 3 days actually, coming into Dutch Harbor. And so they had the packages, but they had not yet got them sorted through. So he told me to check back the next day or Monday and see if anything was in there. At night, we had a very cool activity. I've been a part of several of them as I've been on here. It's called a wedding down. And what this is where the newly promoted junior officers, or the newly promoted officers in general, all come together, and as a thank you for the crew that works for them, they buy drinks for the crew. Normally, because we are a crew of around 150 people, they do put a limit on it. It's not unlimited at the bar. Usually it's 2. You get 2 drinks per person, and that's what they pool their money to pay for. I left early because drinking is not really my thing. Loud places are not really my thing. And so I left early, went back to Amelia's and had dinner, and then I walked back to the ship, because at that moment the duty vans were not running. So I walked the 1.5 miles or so back to the ship, and I just hung out for the rest of the night. Now, it's worth noting that I say that I got off the ship right when liberty was granted. Not all rates on the ship are that fortunate. The engineers, they had to stay back because they had to take on fuel. Every time we pull into Dutch Harbor the first day, we take on enough fuel to fill up our fuel tanks, and that is always quite a bit, as you can imagine. The ship is 418 feet long. Obviously, we have more than the 20-gallon gas tank that is in your car. So they had to stay back and fill the ship with fuel. The damage controlman had to stay back and set up the sewage connection. There were other engineers, electronics technicians had to stay back because there was a substantial amount of work that they had to do. The ITs had to do some system reboots, and so they stayed back. They did not make it out until much later in the day. So I do recognize that I am quite fortunate because generally I am able to have the work done once it's time for liberty to be granted. And so that's what we were able to do. We did have to do the end of month activities, and those were not insignificant activities. They did take a fair amount of time, but we were able to have those done by the time liberty was granted and I was able to leave. But certainly I am not the only rate on the ship, and a lot of the other jobs definitely had work that kept them around for quite a while. And those are the guys who, and women, men and women, who keep the ship running. You know, if they didn't do all these jobs, then there would be nothing for me to do, because none of the electronics that I use to seek out contacts and to identify vessels and aircraft and fishing vessels, none of that would work without the electronics technicians, without the ITs, and without all the engineers keeping everything running. So they are really the backbone of the ship. And, you know, I feel like I leave those guys, men and women, out, and I shouldn't do that. I need to be better about recognizing the amount of work that they put in. And today was definitely one of those days that they put in a lot of work. Just for the future, there may be an update for this day. We'll have to see how stuff plays out, but there may be a late breaking day 60 update, but stand by for anything about that. I'll let that information out as it becomes available. If you have any questions about what we've got going on out here, please leave them down below. I will try to answer them as best that I can. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. I thank you for listening. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.